In the midst of the Cold War, a new agency emerged on the world stage, cloaked in the idealism of promoting progress and alleviating poverty. The year was 1961, and President John F. Kennedy, with a stroke of his pen, brought the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, to life. This new entity, born from the ashes of previous foreign aid programs, was tasked with a seemingly straightforward mission: to extend a helping hand to developing nations, fostering economic growth and democratic values. USAID's mandate was clear: to combat poverty, hunger and disease, and to champion the cause of freedom and democracy across the globe. With its headquarters nestled in Washington, D.C., USAID embarked on its mission, channeling billions of dollars in aid to countries grappling with poverty and instability. The agency's initial projects focused on providing food security, improving healthcare systems, and bolstering education in developing countries. However, as the Cold War intensified, so too did the complexities surrounding USAID's work, blurring the lines between humanitarian aid and political maneuvering. The seeds of doubt were sown, casting a long shadow over USAID's legacy. As the Cold War cast a long shadow over the globe, USAID found itself increasingly entangled in the intricate web of geopolitical rivalries. The agency's initial humanitarian focus gradually morphed, becoming intertwined with the United States' efforts to contain the spread of communism. In the jungles of Vietnam, USAID's involvement extended far beyond providing humanitarian relief. The agency became deeply enmeshed in the conflict, supporting the South Vietnamese government and engaging in covert operations aimed at undermining the Communist North. USAID's funds were funneled into infrastructure projects with a dual purpose: bolstering the South Vietnamese economy, while also facilitating the movement of troops and supplies. Allegations surfaced of USAID's involvement in training local police forces, some of which were accused of human rights abuses. USAID's actions in Latin America further fueled these concerns. The Cold War left an indelible mark on USAID, shaping its institutional culture and setting the stage for future controversies. As the Iron Curtain crumbled and the Cold War drew to a close, USAID's mission seemed poised for a transformation. With the threat of communism receding, the agency could seemingly refocus on its core mandate of promoting development and alleviating poverty. From the heart of Eastern Europe to the volatile regions of Latin America and beyond, USAID's presence has been felt in numerous instances of political upheaval. In Latin America, USAID's support for opposition groups and its funding of pro-democracy programs have been linked to the destabilization of governments deemed unfriendly to the United States. While USAID maintains that its work is guided by principles of democracy and human rights, its critics argue that these values are often sacrificed on the altar of geopolitical expediency. The year 2014 witnessed a dramatic upheaval in Ukraine, as the Euromaidan protests, fueled by widespread discontent with the government of Viktor Yanukovych, swept through the streets of Kyiv. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, allegations surfaced of foreign interference, with USAID thrust into the center of a geopolitical firestorm. USAID's involvement in Ukraine dates back to the early 1990s, when the agency began providing assistance to the newly independent nation following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Over the years, USAID poured billions of dollars into Ukraine, funding programs aimed at promoting democracy, strengthening civil society, and fostering economic growth. As the Euromaidan protests gained momentum, USAID's role came under intense scrutiny. The Maidan Revolution and its aftermath continued to cast a long shadow over Ukraine, highlighting the complexities of foreign intervention and the often blurred lines between promoting democracy and pursuing geopolitical interests. Section 5. Trump's Crusade: Dismantling the USAID Behemoth. Donald Trump's rise to the presidency in 2016 sent shockwaves through the corridors of power in Washington, D.C., and USAID was not immune to the tremors of change. Trump, a staunch critic of foreign aid and a vocal proponent of an America First foreign policy, viewed USAID with suspicion, seeing it as a bloated bureaucracy more interested in promoting a globalist agenda than serving American interests. Trump's disdain for USAID was no secret. Upon assuming office, Trump made good on his promise, proposing significant cuts to USAID's funding and appointing officials skeptical of the agency's mission to key positions. The Trump administration's assault on USAID went beyond budget cuts. The agency found itself subjected to increased scrutiny, with its programs and activities coming under the microscope. Trump's crusade against USAID marked a significant departure from the bipartisan consensus that had long supported the agency's work. Section 6. The Indian Conundrum, a pawn in a geopolitical chess game. India, a rising economic powerhouse and a key player in the Indo-Pacific region, has become a focal point for USAID's activities in recent years. While USAID touts its commitment to supporting India's development goals, critics argue that its actions are often driven by a broader agenda of countering China's growing influence in the region. USAID's involvement in India dates back decades, with the agency initially focusing on providing food aid and supporting agricultural development. Over time, USAID's portfolio has expanded to encompass a wide range of sectors including health, education, climate change, and democratic governance. However, USAID's presence in India has not been without controversy. This geopolitical calculus has inevitably colored USAID's work in India, raising concerns that the agency's development assistance is being used as a tool to advance American strategic interests. Section 7. Whispers of Influence, USAID and the Media Landscape. In an increasingly interconnected world where the battle for hearts and minds is often waged in the digital sphere, the media plays a pivotal role in shaping public opinion and influencing policy decisions. USAID's involvement in the media sector takes various forms. The agency provides grants to media organizations, supports journalism training programs, and funds initiatives aimed at promoting media freedom and access to information. However, critics argue that USAID's funding often comes with strings attached, influencing the editorial direction of media outlets and shaping the narratives they produce. By providing financial support to these outlets, USAID can indirectly influence their coverage, promoting narratives that align with American interests while marginalizing dissenting voices. These allegations, if true, undermine USAID's credibility as a champion of media freedom and raise serious questions about the ethics of its funding practices. Section 8. A legacy marred controversies and criticisms. USAID, despite its noble mission of alleviating poverty and promoting democracy, has been dogged by controversy throughout its history. From allegations of covert operations to accusations of political bias, the agency has faced a steady stream of criticism, tarnishing its reputation and raising questions about its true purpose and effectiveness. One of the most persistent criticisms leveled at USAID is its perceived lack of transparency and accountability. The agency's sprawling bureaucracy, vast budget, and complex web of contractors and grantees make it difficult to track how its funds are being spent and whether they are achieving their intended goals. Furthermore, USAID's close ties to the United States government, particularly its intelligence agencies, have raised concerns about its neutrality and independence. These controversies have eroded USAID's credibility and undermined its effectiveness in many parts of the world. Section 9. An Uncertain Future, Navigating a World in Flux. As the world grapples with a confluence of challenges, climate change, pandemics, rising inequality, geopolitical instability, the need for effective development assistance has never been greater. USAID, with its vast resources and global reach, has the potential to play a critical role in addressing these challenges and building a more just and prosperous world. USAID's future is inextricably linked to the foreign policy priorities of the United States. The Biden administration has signaled a shift away from the America First rhetoric of the Trump era, emphasizing multilateralism and a renewed commitment to global leadership. However, USAID's ability to seize these opportunities will depend on its willingness to address the systemic issues that have plagued it for decades. The agency must prioritize transparency and accountability, ensuring that its funds are used effectively and that it is held responsible for its actions. It must also work to disentangle itself from the perception that it is merely an instrument of American foreign policy, demonstrating a genuine commitment to neutrality, impartiality, and local ownership.